Hey, everybody. Oh my gosh, it is finale week. I'm so excited. So, we have episode 9 today, episode 10 on Wednesday, and episode 11, which is the final episode, is this Friday. So, Inner Demons is almost over. It feels to me like it has gone by in a flash, but I feel like the last couple of months have gone by so crazy fast. So it's just like, what is happening? I realized as I was sitting down to get my pages together and everything that somehow the very first page of today's episode was missing. So I had to print it out real quick. It's been one of those days, y'all, seriously. So little Miss Evie is still sick. We had to take her into the doctor this weekend, and she's doing okay. It's not like she's super sick. She doesn't have a fever or anything like that. She just, like, in general, isn't feeling well and is having some little problems here and there. So it's been a little bit stressful because I'm not getting much sleep, and it's just always hard when your kids aren't feeling well. And so it was a little bit of a rougher weekend than I wanted. And I honestly wonder, the doctor doesn't know exactly what's going on. She just thinks that maybe it's like a little GI issue from maybe like a stomach bug or something like that she said, would only last a few days. But we're going on like 5-6 days now of her not feeling well. So I'm wondering if it's just that Andrew went back to school and Evie hasn't been really exposed to many people because it's just been the 4 of us in this house for most of her life. So maybe it's just that he brought some germs home from school. I don't know, but we're on a very strict regimen. When he gets in the door, he has to wash his hands and change clothes and everything. Well, he didn't change clothes today, but anyway, she's fine, but it's just been a little bit harder than normal because she's not sleeping great. And just a little bit needs more mommy time. So that's fine too. But hopefully we'll see her. She's sleeping right now. So I've got her on the little monitor there. Yay. Welcome, Nilda. Hey, everybody. Thank you guys for the positive vibes. I appreciate it. How was your weekend? I hope you all had a great weekend. We didn't really do much here other than like things that needed to get finished up. I still didn't get the book plates done because I ended up having a baby in my arms pretty much the entire weekend. So I apologize about that. They hopefully are getting done tonight and tomorrow. So yeah, some of that stuff got just pushed back because of that. So life happens, but everything seems to be taking longer than I want it to. Today, what we're going to do, we have kind of a long episode today. So we have 10 pages today, and it is, we'll just say like a kicker of an episode. There's something very important happening in this episode. So hopefully you guys are ready for it. This is going to be a little bit of a twist here in this episode, something you might not have seen coming or probably have not seen coming unless you've already read these books. Gabriella says it was awesome. It was my birthday and had homemade cheesecake. That is incredible. Who made the cheesecake? Did you make it, or you guys went and got it somewhere, or someone made it for you? I love cheesecake. Cheesecake is so good. So happy birthday, Gabriella. So it's just, it's going to be an intense episode today. It's going to be a fun week this week. We're going to have 3 episodes, 3 lives. And at the end of today's episode, I'm going to share my screen and give you guys a preview of what's coming up next. Oh, your friend made it. Yay. Oh my gosh, that's a talented friend and a good friend to have, because that is actually amazing. Rana says, I was thinking of making one tonight. I wish I knew how to make cheesecake, but I don't actually know. I'm sure I could look it up and try to figure it out, but I'm not great in the kitchen. But cheesecake is delicious. George had a friend at one of his previous jobs that made cheesecakes. I just love cheesecake. It's so good. LA said, I celebrated my 34th wedding anniversary yesterday, spent the weekend at the beach house. Oh my gosh, 34 years. That's crazy. That's incredible. Congratulations to you. And what a great weekend to spend at the beach house now that it's getting to be like, it's not quite fall. So it's still like nice and summery, but it's just like the perfect like after or toward the end of summer beach weekend. So that's really amazing. Michelle says, I've been listening to a book on Audible and I much prefer listening to you. Thank you so much for that. Michelle, I've been thinking more and more about that lately of like, oh, maybe I should actually record these. And maybe I can do it over the holidays. I don't know. I'm pretty nervous to do it, honestly. But at the same time, it has been on my mind more and more. So I am looking into it for those of you who are interested. Alexandria said, I like your hair. Thank you. I feel like I'm messing with it too much because I'm like trying to like keep the wispies from going crazy. But thank you guys so much. Y'all have been so incredibly supportive with this. I feel like I'm definitely getting a lot of practice when it comes to reading my stories out loud that I never had before. So it's really fun. I don't know. We'll see, I guess, how it's going to go. I'm excited about it. I may need to, I feel like I have a pretty good microphone, but I know that this room is probably not the best, but I have heard of people that actually like go into their closet where there's like a lot of clothes and stuff to work as that sound barrier or whatever. George says this hairstyle is called the sweetie. It is true. He always calls this the sweetie, where I just have like a little bit pulled up, and it's always, every time he's like, gosh, you look pretty today. He's like, oh yeah, because you're wearing the sweetie. So I'm just trying to like, I don't know. I shouldn't mess with it because somebody will criticize. Jasmine Rose said, I'm thinking of having a go at voice acting. Do it. Definitely do it. That's so much fun. I definitely have a background in like performing and singing and diction and different things like that. But I never really thought about like voice acting, and I don't know. I feel like I would maybe need some like tutoring or some kind of training. I do have a friend that does some voice acting in anime, so maybe I'll reach out to her and be like, do you think this is a good idea or the worst idea of all time? I don't know. Okay. I am going to read today's chapter. We're going to get started early because it's 10 full pages, and most of them have been like 6 or 7 pages. So it's going to be a little bit longer today. And then we are going to talk about what's coming up next. George and I kind of sat down and had some conversation today during lunch about what we're going to do next, like where would be good places to break up the next story and different things like that. So we're going to talk about that today too. So I want to leave some time to the end. Again, if you won a giveaway or pages or anything like that, I apologize like from the bottom of my heart that I have not sent that stuff out. I don't know. I'm just terrible at it. Another exciting thing that happened today is I did a second interview for what I'm calling an online marketing manager position, which is kind of a more than just an assistant kind of job. So I've narrowed it down to some really great candidates. And then I did some interviews this morning. So we are very close to potentially having someone new join my team. So I'll definitely be introducing you guys to that person because they're going to be interacting with us and doing some things like in the group and, places like that. So we'll see how it turns out, but I'm feeling really good about it and pretty excited to have somebody on my team. So I'm pretty excited about all of that stuff. There's a lot of really fun stuff coming up. But when I started looking at the calendar, I started realizing, oh my gosh, it's like we have 1 month left of Q3, and then we just have like 4 months total left of the year, which is really, really hard to believe. And so today we will be talking a little bit about not only what's coming next immediately, but what we're going to do like over the holidays and different things like that. So there's going to be some discussion going on that we'll probably do some discussion going into the coven to kind of see and get some feedback. So if you're not in the coven, come join us for sure. Kelly Kelly says, I have to work late today, so I can't stick around, but wanted to say hi. I missed Friday because of work. Oh no, we missed you. Hopefully you will be back Monday or back on Wednesday. So have a good time at work. I'm glad you popped in to say hello. All right. Wrestling Chick says, I would buy all your audiobooks. Please do it. I am really thinking about it. So yes, that's exciting. All right. We are 10 minutes in, so we're getting started a little bit earlier than we normally do. But like I said, I want to go ahead and get to this. So as I didn't even look over what we talked about last week, but just as a little bit of a recap, we've got Harper getting ready for the homecoming dance, but she's really not looking forward to it at all now, because in the little mixer, so homecoming in Peachville is a whole event. There's like a mixer with alumni on Thursday night. There's the game on Friday night. And then Saturday night is this big sort of formal dance. And on Thursday night at the mixer, it was the first time Harper got to see a real look at Brooke after Brooke's initiation. And Brooke's been missing. She's been out sick. And Harper wasn't sure, how she's doing after this crazy initiation with the shadow demon and everything else. So she finally gets a chance to see Brooke, and it's like Brooke is a totally different person. She's even more like beautiful and radiant, if that was possible, but she's also acting different. She no longer has the same dreams for her future. She's now suddenly like kind of interested in the governor's son and is talking about how she wants to be a politician. And so Harper is definitely thinking, between that and her conversation with Morgan, it's just like, how the heck is she going to get herself out of this? What has she gotten herself into? And now she's still got to kind of navigate around the whole Drake situation and the dance coming up. So here we go. The homecoming dance is in this episode. We are about to go into it right now. And this is kind of sort of the bigger scenes of the book. So I hope you guys are ready. All right. So this is chapter 26, The Strangest Feeling. I stared at myself in the mirror and frowned. The black dress I'd bought at the thrift store was the right shape, but it was definitely not the look I wanted for tonight. Luckily, no one would actually ever see this dress. I slipped out of my scuffed black heels and sat cross-legged on the floor of my room. I placed my palms up and laid them lightly on my knees, just like Lark had shown me. My eyes closed and I breathed in and out, concentrating on the rise and fall of my chest and the energy of the room around me. At first, all I could think about was Brooke and how the magic I was learning was borrowed from a group of witches who were planning to turn me into something I never wanted to be. I couldn't concentrate. I shook my head and tried again. I needed to shut out my fears and all these thoughts about Brooke and the order. I needed to forget my worries about what would happen in 2 years when I turned 18. And think about the present. My only mission these days was to continue to play along and be careful not to raise any suspicions. I drew as much air into my lungs as I could, then slowly let it out in a calming hiss. I let my body really connect with the floor and the room. I imagined the energy of this room and the house and even the garden and the forest beyond. I felt it begin to hum inside my veins. The blue energy of it soared through the air and into me. I opened myself to it, letting it take up residence inside my frame. When I felt every inch of my body buzzing with the power of the magic, I slowly reimagined myself. Instead of a tattered black dress, I imagined a blue dress made of fine silk. The dress I had tried on when we'd all gone shopping. The one I could never afford. In my mind, I zipped the dress onto my body and it fit perfectly. I imagined a pair of gorgeous silver heels in place of the scuffed black ones. I pictured myself with the perfect makeup. Every flaw on my skin was covered. My eyelashes were long and thick. I thought about the way actresses looked on the red carpet and tried to picture myself in their makeup. Smoky eyes, perfect pink lip gloss, a light blush that looked natural. The changes became so clear in my mind as if I were looking at a photograph in my head. My breath grew rapid and my skin began to tingle. When I opened my eyes and stood in front of the mirror, I smiled triumphantly. Come what may, at least I'd look good tonight. 20 minutes later, the limousine pulled down the long driveway. I watched from the edge of the front balcony as Drake climbed out and looked up at the house. He looked amazing, dressed in a black suit with a blue tie, but good looks just weren't enough. I stepped back from the window and waited. I'd never been to a dance before, but I imagined it like a scene from the movies. The guy stands in the doorway and looks up as the beautiful girl makes her way down the staircase. The only problem was that I had a feeling I was more in a kind of horror movie these days rather than a romantic comedy. The knock on the door echoed throughout the front hallway, and I heard the click of Ella Mae's heels on the wood floor. Well, Mr. Ashworth, she said, don't you just look so nice this evening? Is Harper here? He sounded like such a gentleman. I just hoped he would actually manage to be a gentleman all night. I prayed no one spiked the punch. I walked slowly to the top of the stairs and placed my hand lightly on the wooden rail. As I made my way down the stairs, I kept my eyes on Drake's face. The look there was priceless. His mouth open slightly and his eyes wide with appreciation. Wow, you look beautiful, he said, taking my hand when I reached the bottom. Thanks, I said. He planted a light kiss on my cheek, then handed me a small bouquet of blue and white flowers. I sank my nose into them and inhaled the aroma. I found myself wishing Drake had never been such a jerk at that party. Sometimes he could be so thoughtful and sweet, but every time I thought about that night, my stomach felt all twisty inside. Just have her home by 2, Ella Mae said. Mrs. Shadowford had agreed to extend my curfew for this special event, and I was grateful. Drake didn't take his eyes off me for a second, even after we were in the limo. So far, it was just the two of us, and he instructed the driver to take us by Foster's place next. Harper, you're always pretty, but you are like a goddess tonight. My face felt warm. I smiled, but inside, I was feeling a little bit guilty. Using glamours was fun, but it also seemed a little like cheating. My blonde hair fell in perfect spiral curls all the way down my back with diamond clips at the side. The blue dress clung to my body in all the right places. My makeup looked professionally done, not too much, not too little, just perfect. I could never have looked this good without magic. I reminded myself that I shouldn't get too attached to the idea of using spells for my own benefit, especially since being a witch came at such a high cost. Drake pulled me into his arms and held me close the whole ride into town. I could smell the slightest scent of alcohol on his breath. I definitely needed to be on my guard tonight. There was no telling what might happen. We stopped at Foster's, then picked up Lark and Allison's dates, and we headed to Brooke's house where Lark and Allison were already waiting. Brooke's mom took pictures of the group in the backyard out by their garden. Nice dress, Lark said with a knowing wink. Oh, isn't that the dress you tried on at the mall? Allison asked. I thought you said it wasn't the right one. I shrugged. I just thought it was too good to pass up. Plus, I couldn't find anything better. Well, you look beautiful, Brooke said. I looked around as each couple posed for the camera. Everyone looked happy and perfect, but deep inside my heart, I felt this terrible sense of wrongness. I glanced around the backyard, straining to see into the night, past where the outside lights from Brooke's house could shine. Like the mixer the other night, I had the strangest feeling we were being watched. Come on, Harper, get in the picture, Lark called out. Everyone had gathered together for one last shot. I took a deep breath and tried to shake the eeriness I'd felt, but no matter how hard I tried, the fear followed me like a predator, waiting in the inky darkness. Chapter 27, Crimson. The PHS gym was decorated in blue and black streamers, balloons, and sparkling white lights. If they went this crazy for homecoming, I wondered what prom must look like here. I also wondered if it was possibly just another glamour. My newfound magical knowledge had me questioning everything and everyone I saw in this town. Of course, I couldn't exactly judge anyone for using a glamour to improve their looks, not after what I'd done. I still felt slightly tingly from the use of my power. The demon tattoo on my back constantly moved from side to side. My skin felt soft, and deep inside I was hyper and energetic, like I'd had an entire pot of coffee for dinner. It was a fun feeling, and I could see how someone might become addicted to it. I understood how some people would be willing to sell their soul to increase their power, or share it with a demon. Will you be all right here for just a second while I try to figure out where I need to line up for the senior court? Drake asked. Sure, I said. Foster and Drake took off, leaving Brooke and me standing together near the entryway. We'd gotten to the gym early because both the guys and Brooke were all on what PHS called the senior court. It was a group of 6 girls and 6 guys from the senior class who had been voted as having contributed the most to the school. Basically, it ended up as a collection of the most popular people in the senior class. Brooke was pulled away by a few girls I didn't really recognize, and I was left standing alone near the punch bowl. My confidence wavered slightly. I walked to the snack table and looked at the goodies, but after eating so much Italian food at dinner, none of it looked appetizing. Across the room, someone laughed loudly, and I turned to see who it was. A group of younger guys, maybe freshmen, were running up and down the bleachers acting crazy. I shook my head. I wish they'd start some music or something. The place was too quiet without it. The boys on the bleachers shouted again, and on instinct, I turned to see what they were up to. That's when I saw the strange figure. The person was standing in the shadows by the back door to the gym. I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman, but I knew they were staring at me, studying me. A wave of dizziness washed over me. What were the others doing at the dance? We found it, Drake said. I jumped at the sound of his voice. You okay? I looked back toward the door, but the figure was gone. Yeah, I said, I'm fine. Drake grabbed my hand and led me to the side of the gym where the senior court had gathered behind a wall of blue gauzy fabric. Wow, your hands are freezing, he said. And no matter how much I tried to warm them, they stayed cold for the rest of the night. It didn't take long for the gym to fill up with students, parents, and alumni. For the opening presentation, Clara Summers made a speech about the importance of coming home and celebrating your roots after you find success in the outside world. Governor Davis talked about how she married her high school sweetheart and that 40 years ago, their first date was the homecoming dance her sophomore year. Alice Kensington, a tall brunette who graduated 6 years ago and now lived in Iraq working for the U.S. Embassy, gave a short presentation about a program she was running over there. It amazed me just how much Peachville's influence spread across the world. Women in power all over the state and even the world. It sent a strange tingle across my skin. It would be one thing if these women had accomplished these things on their own merit, but I knew better. Their beauty and charisma came from a supernatural source. A demon, torn from its world against its will, was the only reason for their power. And now, they wanted to use me to make them even more powerful. I was certain these women would do whatever they had to in order to make me accept their order. There was a part of me that wanted to just accept my fate. At least I would be a leader as the prima. Wouldn't that afford me some freedom? Plus, I would have all kinds of knowledge and power at my fingertips. I could make a difference in the world. But there was a much stronger voice inside that knew I had to fight against what they were trying to do to me. It's our turn, Drake whispered. His breath was warm against the side of my face, but I couldn't shake the chill of fear that had been following me all night. Mayor Chin introduced the seniors on the court one at a time. When they called Drake's name, I looped my arm in his, and we stepped into the spotlight. Mayor Chin listed Drake's accomplishments as we walked. I noticed his parents sitting on the front row of bleachers, their faces beaming with pride. As quarterback of the Demons football team, Drake has taken our home team to a record 10 consecutive wins. He is also an honor student. Drake often spends his weekends volunteering at the local nursing home. He plans to attend the University of Georgia in the fall on a full football scholarship. Let's hear a round of applause for our Demons quarterback, Drake Ashworth. The crowd cheered as we made our way to the end of the row of seniors. I studied their faces, looking for the hooded figure I had seen earlier. Instead, my gaze landed on Jackson Hunt. He was leaning against the doorway near the ticket table, and when our eyes met, he lowered his head in a slight nod. My mind went back to the conversation I'd overheard between him and Morgan Baker in the garden the night before. He had told her he didn't want to come tonight, but why? Did he have the same sense of icy fear that I'd had all night? After the court walked in and the speeches were finished, the lights dimmed and the DJ started with some hip-hop and a light show. Most of the parents and alumni left, and the students slowly made their way onto the dance floor. My silver shoes lasted about two dances before I kicked them off near the bleachers and decided to go barefoot. I tried to let loose and just have fun, but my eyes kept moving toward that back door. With the main lights turned off, there were so many dark corners it made me nervous. Every time I turned my back on the shadows, I felt eyes on me. About an hour and a half into the dance, a rush of nausea hit me like a punch in the stomach. I doubled over in pain and had to put my hand on Drake's arm to steady myself. "Are you all right?" "I don't know," I said. I couldn't tell him the truth. He would think I was insane for worrying about dark figures and a group of strange witches who might be out to get me. "I think maybe I ate too much. I'm sure it's nothing. I'm just going to go to the restroom for a minute. I'll be right back." The fluorescent lights in the bathroom buzzed and flickered. Even after all the dancing, my hair and makeup looked flawless and fresh. But inside, I felt like a mess. Maybe I could tell Drake I had food poisoning and convince him to take me home early. I wasn't sure how much more of this night I could handle. Out in the gym, break in the music, the silence was brief but pronounced. Then, someone screamed. A terrifying, hit you in your gut kind of scream that echoed through the entire gym. My stomach tightened and my breath caught in my throat. I ran out into the gym knowing this was the moment I'd been dreading all evening. What I saw would haunt me for the rest of my life. Jackson Hunt knelt on the cold gym floor, his hands and face covered in blood as he clutched a girl's limp body in his arms. I gasped and stepped forward. Students ran in all directions, fleeing from the red pool that snaked and slithered across the slick surface of the floor. The black lace of Morgan Baker's dress was drenched in crimson. As I rushed toward them, I saw she had been pierced through the heart with a silver dagger. Her eyes were closed and her body was lifeless and still. Jackson slowly rocked her back and forth as if he were trying to rock her to sleep. Movement in the shadows caught my eye, and as I looked toward the dark back corner of the gym, the hooded figure stared coldly back at me, then turned and fled into the night. Chapter 28, I Just Know. The paramedics had to practically pry Jackson's arms from Morgan's cold, dead body. They placed her into a plastic body bag and zipped it up. Then the police came in for Jackson. I watched in horror as they stood him up and put him in handcuffs. Drake pushed through the sea of students to stand by my side. What the hell happened? I could only shake my head. The police were arresting Jackson like they thought he was a murderer? Didn't they see the way he was cradling her body? A killer wouldn't do that. They should be searching for whoever did this horrible thing. What if they hurt someone else? I knew that guy was a freak, he mumbled. He tried to take my hand in his, but I yanked it away, then crossed my arms in front of my chest, suddenly feeling cold and empty. Hey, what's your problem? I stopped listening to him. It felt as though I was underwater. Everything moved so slowly. The sounds around me were distorted. Before Jackson was pulled away, he turned and looked straight into my eyes. His sorrow and fear pierced through me like the silver knife that had been stuck through Morgan's body. His eyes pleaded with me as if I were the only one who would understand. But I didn't understand any of it. How had he known something bad was going to happen tonight? I wanted to ask him about the dark figure who had killed Morgan, but there was no way I could talk to him here, not with all these people watching. Sheriff Hollingsworth, the petite black woman who had questioned me about Tori's murder over a month before, stormed through the gym's front door. She took one look at the massive pool of blood on the floor and wobbled slightly on her feet. A strange look passed over her features, but then she seemed to pull herself together. "Why are all these students still standing around?" she shouted to her officers. "Someone get a perimeter set up here or we're going to lose valuable evidence." She turned and looked at Jackson, anger flashing in her eyes. When she saw he was staring at me, she looked from him to me, then back again, her anger turning to concern. I stepped back and tried to blend into the crowd. She yanked Jackson's arms and pulled him from the building. "Get this kid out of here. Take him down to the holding cell and lock him up tight. No one gets in for questioning. And someone call LMA Hunt," she said. She motioned to a woman standing near the doorway, then whispered something in her ear. The woman looked toward me and nodded. The crowd in the entryway seemed to breathe all at once as the officers set into motion. "You heard the sheriff," Officer Gray said. "I want all students to get back into the gymnasium and have a seat on the bleachers. Officer Ellis, you go lock up the back doors and make sure no one gets in or out back there. Lancaster, you and Forbes keep an eye on the students and get them organized so we can start questioning them as soon as possible. I'll start gathering evidence up here." There was a flurry of movement as students were herded back into the gym. The mood of the evening had changed from fun to fearful. A third death in just 2 short months of school? Even for a large school in a big city, that would be nearly unheard of and disturbing. But here, in such a small community, it was pure devastation. Kids killing kids. Technically, Agnes's death had been ruled an accident, but most of the students knew what really happened. The cops had stopped looking for Tori's murder after that. Thankfully, no one had ever really questioned my involvement in the fire. I felt I had Mrs. King to thank for that, but who would Jackson turn to? He had his mother, but she didn't seem to have much power in this town. She wasn't rich and in charge like the sheriff or the mayor, and from the look in the sheriff's eyes tonight, she thought he was guilty. He'd been kneeling in Morgan's blood. His prints might even be all over that silver dagger. Jackson was going to need a super lawyer to get out of this one, and something told me LMA wasn't going to be able to afford a lawyer like that. Drake put his arm around me and guided me up to the bleachers, to the very top where Brooke and the others were already gathered. They all looked shaken and scared. "What happened out there? Harper, are you all right?" Brooke asked. I nodded and swallowed. My mouth was hot and dry. "Who was it?" Allison asked. "Someone said it was that weird girl, Morgan." "She's dead," I said. My voice came out like a croak. I cleared my throat and stared down at my hands, not even really seeing them at all. And she wasn't weird. She was... My voice trailed off. She was like me, I thought. "Jackson Hunt killed her," Drake said. "Stabbed her in the heart with some crazy knife. It had those blue stones in the handle, like it was some kind of ritual dagger from a movie or something." Brooke shifted in her seat. She seemed uncomfortable. "Jesus," Foster said. "That guy is seriously disturbed." Why would he do something like that tonight? Lark asked. She had taken her date's black coat and put it around her shoulders. She was shivering, even though it had to be about 80 degrees in the gym from all this dancing. In front of everyone. Maybe he was trying to make some kind of statement about the school, Allison said. Or maybe he's just a psycho lunatic, Drake said. I was in a daze, hypnotized by the searing image of such red, flowing blood, but Drake's words brought me out of it. Jackson didn't do this, I said. Brooke's eyes widened. How do you know? Did you see something? Not exactly, I said. I was in the bathroom when it happened. I didn't see who did it, but I ran out as soon as I heard her scream. Then how do you know Jackson didn't do it? I shook my head. I just know. Harper Madison? I looked down at the woman who had called my name. It was the same lady Sheriff Hollingsworth had spoken to before she took Jackson away. Yes? You and your friends need to come with me. Chapter 29. I might have seen something important. The woman introduced herself as Madeline Carr. Brooke and the others seemed to already know her. She said she was a friend of the sheriff's, and I took that to mean she was a member of the order. The police told us to stay here for questioning, I said. Not you guys, she said. I've been instructed to take you all to Mr. Ashworth's house right away. Your limousine is waiting for us out front. I looked at all the students who had to stay behind. They might be there all night, waiting to have questions barked at them. Most of them looked scared. Many of them were crying. It didn't seem fair that they all had to wait while we got whisked away in a limo. Besides, I had seen the murderer. I felt certain of it. I think I should talk to the police, I said. I might have seen something important. This isn't up for debate, Miss Madison, Madeline said. We leave now. There's no time to waste. I sat back down on the bleachers. I'm not going anywhere. Drake gripped my arm. Harper, now is not the time to be fooling around. Ow, I said. I yanked my arm away from him. Don't ever touch me like that again. Whoa, why are you so angry? She's giving us a free ride here, and you're treating everybody like garbage. Madeline Carr signaled to a couple of officers, and I watched with dread as the two men walked toward us. Officers, I need you to escort these teenagers to the limousine outside. If you have to, you're authorized to use force in order to get Miss Madison to the car. I opened my mouth in protest, but my voice caught in my throat as the two policemen climbed up the 3 rows of bleachers toward me. I stood and held my hand out in front of me. I'll go, I said. My voice was barely a whisper. Once inside the car, I sat alone. Drake and Foster took seats at the very front. Lark, Allison, and Brooke were huddled together on one side of the limo. Brooke's eyes stayed trained on me the entire time, but I avoided her gaze. She was one of them now. She couldn't be trusted. The 2 guys who had come to the dance with Lark and Allison looked terrified. It was obvious they had no idea what was going on or why we had been chosen to leave when everyone else had to stay. They were smart enough to keep their mouths closed, though. Boys, please give the driver your addresses, Madeline told them. We're going to drop you off at your houses first. The guys recited their addresses, and the driver took them home immediately. Then he turned onto the street where Drake lived. Even though we'd been going out for a while, I'd never actually been inside his house. Drake had driven me by here once just to show me where he lived, but he'd never invited me inside or anything. The Ashworths lived in luxury, just like everyone in this limousine, excluding me, of course. Their home was a blue 3-story house built before the Civil War. Pretty white shutters adorned all of the many windows in the front of the house. The limousine pulled into the white dome-shaped carport attached to the left side of the house, and everyone got out. Several women, including Mrs. Ashworth, were waiting to usher us into the house. Mrs. Ashworth looked around, squinting into the darkness. Was she looking for the hooded figure? It definitely seemed like the order was trying to protect us from something, but if they thought Jackson was the murderer, why would they bother? They already had him in custody. The fear on Mrs. Ashworth's face told me that the order knew Jackson Hunt wasn't responsible for Morgan's death. Now they were surrounding me with witches who could keep me safe if the assassin came for me. Madeline led us down to the basement and told us to stay put. There was a pool table, a large flat-screen TV, and several leather couches down there, but there was no door to the outside. I felt like a prisoner. At least there's a bar down here, Drake said. He walked over to the mahogany bar in the far corner and set up several crystal glasses with ice. Who wants one? I eyed him angrily. Great, just what I needed. Drunk Drake was much worse than sober Drake, and I already felt like I'd had more of him than I could take in a lifetime. Screw his mother's wishes. There was no way I was going out with him again. Load me up, Foster said. Brooke? I'd better not, she said. She had finally stopped staring at me. I think she was annoyed that she was down here with us instead of upstairs with the other members of the order. Harper? I looked at him like he'd lost his freaking marbles. No thanks. Well, I'm pouring you one anyway, he said. His voice was full of laughter. Out of all of us, I think you need one the most. He poured vodka into a glass, then topped it with cranberry juice. Here. Are you joking? I just saw a girl bleed to death in front of my very own eyes, and the guy who lives next door to me was arrested for stabbing her in the heart and murdering her. I don't really feel like partying right now. Drake stepped away as if I had slapped him across the face. I looked away from him and down at my shoes. Only I wasn't wearing any shoes. Damn, I'd left them in the gym. With horror, I noticed the edges of my blue dress were beginning to turn black. Cinderella was about to turn back into a pumpkin, or however the story goes, and I had nothing else to wear. I looked frantically at Lark. She told me not to ever let anyone know about the glamours. If the order found out we were doing magic beyond our level, we could get into some serious trouble. It only figured that my glamour would wear off now when we were in a house full of members of the order. Lark, can I talk to you for a moment? I asked. She stood and joined me near the stairs. Look, I said. I pointed toward the hem of the dress. The black section was small and faint, but it was definitely there. She pulled in a long breath. Oh God, this isn't good. Can you change it back? She shook her head. Not here in front of everyone like this. It would draw too much attention. More attention than my dress suddenly turning black? You've got a point there, she said. She bit her lower lip and made a soft whining noise. I honestly don't think I could concentrate enough to do it for you right now if I wanted to. I'll figure something out, I said. Lark went back to sit down, but her face looked pale and worried. If the order found out, it might even get her mother into big trouble. Plus, if they knew the extent of the glamours I could perform, they might figure out what I'd seen, and I couldn't let that happen. I had an idea. I walked up the stairs, and Madeline Carr was standing there guarding the entrance to the basement. Miss Carr? I need you to stay downstairs, Harper. I know, and I'm so sorry I haven't been very cooperative, I said. It's just been a really stressful night. I'm sure it has, she said. Her features softened a bit. Did you need something? I'm just feeling really cold. I pointed to my feet. And I left my shoes at the gym. Is there any way I could get some clothes to change into? I rubbed my palms up and down my arms as if trying to get warm. Oh, you poor thing. I hadn't even realized how cold it must be down there, she said. Hold on just a minute and I'll see if Mrs. Ashworth has something you can wear. She stepped away for a minute, then came back with a bag full of clothes. Here, she said, you can go into the bathroom in Mrs. Ashworth's study to change. I'll wait here outside the door for you, okay? I thanked her and stepped into the cool, dark study. The light in the bathroom was on, and as I crossed the room, a black bag caught my eye. At first, I barely noticed it, but something tugged at my mind. I shook it off and closed myself into the bathroom. Thankfully, Mrs. Ashworth was about my size. I put on the pink velour tracksuit, white t-shirt, thick socks, and white tennis shoes. I stuffed the fading dress into the shopping bag and tied it closed. Quickly, I made my way through the study again. I looked at the black bag, trying to figure out where I'd seen it before. Then it hit me. This was the bag Brooke had taken out to the clearing that night she gave me the tattoo. As quietly as I could, I unzipped the bag, then choked back a scream. Strapped inside was a silver dagger with blue stones on the handle. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so pretty big episode today. We have obviously the dance. Seemed like it was going to be just kind of a normal dance, and the hardest thing that Harper was going to have to navigate was Drake's potentially drunk self. But instead, feeling kind of nauseous because she's so nervous. Plus, we also know that as she uses her magic too much with the glamours and stuff, that can cause nausea and sickness too. So she goes into the bathroom, and while she's in there, something happens and Morgan is murdered. And even though Harper doesn't see who did it, she does know that there is someone that is one of the, like a dark hooded figure, somebody wearing like a hoodie or something like that has been kind of in the gym watching them. And she knows from her conversations in the past that there is a group called the Others that is a group of like witches, and it's like combination of men and women who believe that the power should not be, obtained the way that the Order does. So they're kind of a enemy group of the Order of Shadows, and they believe that I kind of liken the Others to sort of like a crazy religious sect that believes that the power is bestowed upon them by a higher figure and not to do with demons, and that saying that their magical power comes from demons is actually like sacrilegious or devil, kind of devilly. So I don't know if devilly is a word, but this is definitely somehow tied to that. But it's like, surely Jackson didn't do this, right? Because he had a relationship with Morgan, but they did awfully quickly arrest Jackson, put him in handcuffs, and take him away. Then, of course, you see the sort of privilege of being... Hi, what's going on with that little hair? You guys see the little hair sticking up? Devilly is a word now. I'm such a good writer, devilly. Yeah, look at the hair. It's growing. It's growing. You want to say hi, everybody? Hi. Say hi. Hi. Yeah, that's my sweet girl. So we know there's definitely some, crazy stuff going on. And it's kind of like, if it's something going on with the Order, is it something going on with Jackson? Is it something going on with the Others? And we don't know yet. But we do know that, of course, Harper is wondering how in the world did Jackson know something was going to happen tonight? But that, of course, we will find out in the next one. But you guys should already kind of know, if you remember the first book, that he has certain ways that he can see things that happen in the future. But of course, Harper doesn't remember this because she's still, affected by whatever memory spell they put on her in the first book. So she's still sort of dealing with those memory loss things, even though she doesn't fully understand that she is. So something is definitely going on. If, you've got Morgan dead, but who would have wanted her dead? Christabel says, I love how everyone thinks a member did it. If a prima dies, the whole coven from the same town will die. Well, it has to be the last living prima, though, too. So we know that in Morgan's coven, wherever that is, she at least has her grandmother still. We don't know if any of her other members of her family are still alive. And so she's not the last living member of her coven. It's only if it's the last living member. I don't know what his shirt says today. We'll have to see. But his shirt says, life's too short to argue with stupid people, which is such truth. But it's really interesting to see the dance and what all's happening there. It's also, of course, interesting to see, like I was saying, the privilege of, you're Lydia Ashworth's son and you're the prima futura, which we'll hear that in the next book, but you're potentially the next prima or the prima of the town. You get special treatment, especially if you're, surrounded by people who are also future members of the order, or Brooke, who is newly initiated. So it's funny, they quickly rushed them off like they're trying to protect Harper. So then it's like, okay, why is this dagger here and who would have done this? So a little bit of a mystery unfolding, and it will get resolved pretty quickly because you're going to not only hear quite a bit about what happens next in the next episode, you're going to get to kind of hear a little bit more about Harper's memory issues. And so we'll get into that a little bit next episode. And then, of course, in the final episode, we'll have the climax. And I think you guys are going to like the ending to this book. So it's pretty fun. All right. So I'm going to share my screen just a moment. So let's talk real quick about what's coming up next. So we are definitely going to move forward with Bitter Demons. So I have created this little graphic here that has the cover for you. And this is really, I love this cover. And again, you don't really get to see this cover as much because, again, with the same thing with book 2, these first 3 books are bundled together. So a lot of people that discovered this series discovered it in a box set that doesn't have this cover necessarily as prominently on the front. So I'm excited to get to showcase this cover with the roses and the crows and everything, and Harper's necklace, of course, right here in the thumbnail for the videos that are coming up. So here is a little bit more about our schedule coming up. So this week, obviously, we have the Inner Demons finale. So today you heard episode 9, Wednesday will be episode 10, and then Friday will be episode 11. And we're also going to do some giveaways on Friday as well. So make sure that you're here. We'll do a few here in the live stream, and we'll have some for people that are watching on the replay. Then next week, we're going to take a break from reading. We'll still meet Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but we're going to take a break and we're going to just have 3 coffee chat kind of discussions. If you guys have any suggestions about what you'd like to do during those 3, we can just keep talking, coffee chat. We can have discussions about the first 2 books and what's happened so far and what you guys think might be coming up, whatever you want to do. But if you have any kind of thoughts about what you want to talk about next week, please let me know. And we will definitely, add it to the list, because I just wanted to take one little break from actually reading next week. So it might still end up being an hour, but I think the timing will just work out a little bit better, and we'll have a week for people that are catching up on the replay, because I know sometimes people may need a week to kind of catch up on the books and the reading, so they'll be ready for the next book. So this is book 3 of the Shadow Demons Saga. On September 7th, which is actually a holiday here in the United States, it's Labor Day. So some of you might have the day off. Some of you might have plans to go do something. So it's fine if you can't be here. I thought about making it on Wednesday instead, but I think we're just going to go ahead on the 7th and just start. So Andrew will be home from school and it'll be a good day, but we are going to start on September 7th. And then it's going to be 13 episodes. So the previous two books, books 1 and 2, have been just a little bit shorter. So they're 11 episodes total. But Bitter Demons is 13 episodes. And some of those episodes are a little bit longer, like today's episode was. So I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. There are some really good like cliffhanger moments in book 3. And I think you guys will see that there is, I think, an even bigger jump in just the quality of my storytelling for book 3. So I'm hoping that you guys will really enjoy that as well. So that will go from September 7th all the way through October 16th. So definitely, still a little baby, definitely will take us through quite a bit. So we'll follow the same pattern that we'll have like episodes 1 and 2 on Monday, Wednesday, and then Friday that week will be a coffee chat. And we'll keep doing that until we get to the final week, which will be episodes 11, 12, and 13 will all happen in that final week of the 16th. So that will be a fun week. Then after that, we will have, for the next 2 weeks before Halloween, we are going to have my 10-year indie-versary celebration / Halloween celebration / blowout event. So that will be basically 6. So it'll be 2 full weeks, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, of celebration stuff. So like I said to you, we might do some like guests. I might have some guests that will come on with me. We're going to do some giveaways. We're going to do some fun. Just kind of passing by. We're going to do some fun celebration for the 10-year anniversary of Beautiful Demons coming out. And I'm going to have 2 major surprise like announcements that will be total surprise announcements coming up that week. So that's going to be kind of a party fun, or those 2 weeks. And I am going to come up with something. Now, what we're going to talk about in the future is, do we want to do anything on actual Halloween night? So I was thinking about potentially doing a like an hour Halloween special on the actual Halloween day or Halloween evening. I don't want to go too late into Halloween evening because I know we do have a lot of people who are also watching from like the UK and other places. So if I go at night in the US, then it's like 4 a.m. over in the UK. So we probably wouldn't go too late. Plus, I know everybody kind of has like trick-or-treating, or even if there's no trick-or-treating, you've got maybe family things going on. But what we might do is we might add a bonus episode type live celebration on Halloween day. And I have an idea for a big surprise thing. And we may do something fun with a tarot reading, and I might have a special guest on for that as well. So some fun things to think about. 10-year celebration, lots of fun, like different things going on there. So that is our upcoming schedule that we have set out, and it's going to be super fun. And then after that, you'll have to wait and see. But I do have a plan for the rest of the year, and something we'll need to talk about as we get closer to like the November, December timeframe is, do we need to take breaks for like the US Thanksgiving holidays? Do we need to take breaks for Christmas and New Year, or will you guys still be here if I show up, and that kind of thing? We are, as a family, pretty sure that we're also going to take a Disney trip in December. Please, no judgment or hatred there on that. I know you guys wouldn't do that anyway, but we have been kind of talking about wanting to take a vacation and just to like really have something that's just for us. And as I was talking to some of my other friends that have recently gone to Disney, they have really stepped up their safety stuff. So they are really limiting the number of people that are allowed into the parks. There's no like lines the same way that they used to have lines for all the rides. You have to like make reservations for everything. And, like I said, they're like limiting pretty strongly. Plus they have like plexiglass dividers. Everybody's wearing masks. So we're going to do it. I'm pretty sure. We haven't actually booked our trip yet, but pretty sure we're going to do that. So if we do that, I'm like, should I go live from Disney or just take a total break? And we'll have to see. So there will be some kind of maybe some breaks here and there when we get into the holidays in November and December, but I am planning to continue as long as you guys are still having fun. And after we finish Bitter Demons, we will be reading something different than a Shadow Demons book, and I will just leave it at that. So Debbie said Disneyland or Disney World. So it's Disney World because we're going to go to Florida, which is much closer. So I saw a question. So Nilda says, do you have the demon's image somewhere? Which image? Do you mean like the book cover photo? I think this one does actually have a signed cover. Actually, I know it does. It has a signed backdrop and everything, and those are linked in the coven up in the pinned post. So lots of fun. I'm excited to read Bitter Demons because I think that my writing gets even better. The one you used for the tattoo. Oh, no, I don't have a picture of the demon from the tattoo. I never created any kind of image for that. I don't think I've ever done anything with like an actual image of the demon. No.
Just talk to Gary.
Yeah, I don't have anything like that. Well, too late. It's already done. Okay, so hopefully that is exciting to you guys. I'm excited to finish reading the rest of Inner Demons. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Please go ahead and hit the thumbs up button before you leave. Thank you guys for everybody who is watching us on the replay. We love you, even if you can't join us live, and I hope you're having fun watching the replays. George just mentioned to me today that The Witch's Key episode 1 is actually up to over 3,000 views here on YouTube, which was pretty exciting because last time I looked, it only had like 1,000 something. So that means some of you are still going through The Witch's Key, which is really fun too. So, yeah, lots of fun things coming up for the rest of the entire year. And I hope you guys are excited too. So if you have any suggestions of what you want to talk about or discuss next week, please go ahead and send me an email or mention it in the comments or in the coven. And I will see you guys on Wednesday for episode 10. You want to come say hi? You want to see me? Yeah, she's not as smiley. She's more tired. Are you sleepy, girl? All right, you guys. I love y'all so much. Thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Lots of twists and turns coming in the last 2 episodes of this one. So we will see you guys soon. One of the best twists coming up. So I can't wait for that. All right. Bye, y'all. Thank you so much. Say bye. Say bye, everybody.